all yours. Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hello everyone. Can you hear me well? Can you please write in the chat that you can hear me, you can see me properly, and everything works fine?
Working on our end.
Okay. So, yeah, welcome to the webinar about the concept of value-based team management. Actually, that is my first ever webinar, so I'm really excited and a little bit nervous. I'm very happy to see you all here. So good day to everyone. Actually, here I live in Omsk, and it's now not a day at all, so it's 1 a.m. But I will try my best to keep energetic during the whole webinar and to deliver all the information that I prepared for you today. Let's start with our topic. I will just share the screen with the presentation. So thank you for the introduction of myself. And yeah, I have chosen this topic not randomly. I have chosen this because leadership is something that is really connected with my everyday life, and I've been through many team membership and team leadership experiences, and I somehow reinvented myself through each and every one of them. So yeah, I've experienced some bad team membership experiences, and some my leadership experiences, especially in the beginning, also failed, but I have learned from them and then implemented the improved approach to team management in my further teams, and now I wanted to present to you somehow my new approach to working with team members that will help to unleash the team members' potential and help them grow and achieve their personal goals while achieving their project's goals. And here I wanted also, before we started the main content of the presentation, I wanted to draw the difference between a manager and a leader, at least in the way I perceive it. To my mind, a manager is a person who is responsible for the final result of the project, who is responsible for delegating tasks and ensuring that everything is being done on time. So in that terms, a manager puts the project's goals a little bit above the personal goals of team members. And on the other hand, a leader does all of this, but still works a lot on helping the team members to achieve their personal goals while achieving the project goals. And that is something that is really important, I guess, to create the commitment of the team members towards the project's goal, because they will feel how they are achieving their own personal goals, how they fulfill their personal values through working on the project. And that is the approach that I will be talking today. Actually, this webinar is quite saturated with a lot of theories, with a lot of approaches and stuff. So in order to make it easier to follow the flow of the presentation, I will announce the agenda about what we are going to talk today. And actually, yeah, so if you have questions during the presentation or in the end of the presentation, feel free to ask them in the chat. Maybe during the screen share format, I won't be able to see all the questions you ask right away, but I will try to answer them all after the webinar, after I finish with the content. So feel free to put there your questions. Well, we will start with brief definition of development stages. I won't concentrate a lot of the theory in this of this model, but I will concentrate more on the role of the leader on each of the stages of team development. Then we will move further and see actually how to help team members find connection of their personal values with the project values. Then we will build up on this and dig deeper on the values topic and see actually why we are doing things, what is the initial reasons for us for actually leading the projects or participating in the projects. And finally, we will finalize it with the simplest coaching model that will help you to structure your conversations with your team members in order to make all the work more efficient. So let's start. So this is the stages of team development developed by Bruce Tuckman. Has anyone heard about it? So you can, if you heard about this model, please write it in the chat. So if you don't know this model, you can also write in the chat that you don't know this model. Okay, so I hope that we will find the chat. Yeah, well, this model was designed by Bruce Tuckman back in actually 1965, but I still believe that this model is relevant now as well. So on the screen now you can see how the flow of team development goes. So this model contains 4 stages. It is forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. And actually the final stage, adjourning, was added a few hours later. Yeah, thank you. Was added a few years later of developing this model, because it actually needed to be in the model, but many people usually forget about this. So we will discuss it when we will get to the final stage. Well, those are the stages, and let's see actually what's going on each of them and how the leader can help. So first stage, forming, happens right after the project starts, when the team members get to know each other, but they still don't really, they still don't feel very comfortable because everything is new. So they keep being positive and polite to each other. They don't really understand what they're going to do yet. So they're just this very accurate about things, but still they're excited about the tasks ahead. So you can also imagine how you feel when you start a new project. You are a little bit uncertain, but you're still excited. So what is the best behavior that leader can demonstrate on this stage in order to help team members to integrate into projects? So first, on this stage, it's very essential to set clear rules of how the work is going to be done, who is responsible for what kind of behaviors are expected, and all the other things that are better to agree on in advance. Because we will talk about this later, but those rules will help you throughout all the project realization. Well, then a leader should clarify the goal of a project and individual responsibilities, because since people don't really know yet what they're going to do, it's better to clarify this in order to help them smoothly start like taking on the responsibility. Yeah, and right now on the forming stage, on the very first stage, it's better to have personal talks with every team member about the personal values, and maybe not that deep and scary conversation right away, but just to see what are the expectations of team members about the project, what they think about it, how they see their participation, what actually influence they expect to to have on the project, what experience they want to have for themselves. So just for a leader to be aware of this and maybe delegate tasks based on the expectations of team members if it's possible. So the forming stage will eventually come to an end because people will get to know each other better. They will start already working. And the second stage is storming. So the name is actually very, the name of the stage describes the stage very clear. It's a storm. Yeah, because now team members know each other better. They know how everything works, and they may start push against the boundaries and challenge the authority of the leader because they feel more comfortable, more more confident in themselves, in their role, in their positions. They also can conflict with each other, especially if their working styles are different. Yeah, also situation can happen that team members can start questioning the team's goal, and that is why they can resist taking on tasks. So yeah, that is a very stormy stage, and the role of the leader is to facilitate it properly, to make the stage short and not very painful for the team, and don't let this stage influence the outcome of the whole project. So why actually storming can happen also? Because here people start to work really hard and they don't see any results yet. So they get demotivated, frustrated, and that's why they start to behave a little distracted. And that is why the rules that you have set on the first stage will be really of use for you, because you can remind the team members that you all agreed to behave politely, for example, or other ways that you have agreed before. So you can just remind them that there are certain rules of communication, of behavior, of working together. So everyone needs to respect those rules. So in any possible way, the leader should reduce tension within the team. There are different ways to do this. If the tension is not that intense yet, so you as a leader can just organize a feedback session when everyone can share the feedback to each other in a very polite and feedback form, not a critic form. But if the situation is really intense already and you feel like the just feedback session can turn into the real open conflict, then it's better to use the hot chair exercise. It is the exercise that you better do with the external moderator. So you invite an external person that will help you to facilitate this exercise, and the point is that one person sits on the chair and all the other team provides feedback. So, but if the tension is really intense, so the feedback may be really harsh, and the role of the external moderator is to try to keep the things go smooth, because the external person will manage this better than yourself, especially if your team members started challenging your authority. So also on this stage, you should lead by example. You should stay committed to the team goals and do a lot of work to demonstrate that it's really valuable, it's needed to be done. And I wish you to have very short storming stage and to faster proceed to the norming stage, because norming stage is the time where people in your team will resolve their differences and appreciate colleagues' strengths, and they will see how hard you were working during storming stage. So you really behaved behaved really well when the things were difficult, and your team members will really respect you for this. So the teams will start to socialize together, to provide each other with constructive feedback. So actually here you should be really careful because some teams start to socialize together a lot. They become really good friends, which is good. But sometimes teams stop working. They just keep socializing and party and go out together and stuff like that. So just keep the working pace as it's needed to achieve the goals. So what is the role of the leader here? Is to firstly to motivate team members with first results. So as I told you before, on storming stage it can be a little bit shaky because people work hard but don't see the result. And on norming stage, the first results already there, and you need to highlight them to appreciate team members for achieving the small first results, because having a result is a huge for motivating team members. So that will also show them that they're on the right track, so they are doing well, and all the storming was not in vain, so it was all worth achieving these first results. So yeah, just keep moving to the performing stage, and actually since situation of the project may change, or something maybe some, I don't know, big and difficult task can arise, so it can also bring you back to the storming stage. So if that happens to your project, just facilitate it in a way that it's not that crucial, that you will deal with this normally, so the team will proceed to performing stage, not going back to storming. And yeah, finally, the performing stage. And for some reason, nothing is going on. Yeah, performing stage. It is the best stage ever for a team leader, because the team works just perfect. They work hard. They start really achieving the team's goal, and all the work actually is going on without your direct involvement into the processes. So that is why the role of the leader on the performance stage is to delegate much of your work. It doesn't mean that you won't do anything on this stage, but here you can concentrate on developing your team members, on helping them reflect the experience they're getting, and also to develop your own leadership skills, because now your team members really know how to do the work and they do it really well. So you don't need to be there all the time. You just need to help them, guide them, and develop their skills and develop your own leadership skills. So that is just the perfect stage. But unfortunately, after this one comes the journey stage, which is the final stage of the team development process, which also means the end of the team experience. So if the team got really bonded, or if the people of your team don't really like changes, they may experience some difficulties with finishing this experience, and because future looks uncertain and they don't know what is going next in most cases. So your role as a leader on the stage is to facilitate the values reinvention and experience reflection, to help your team members realize what they have done, what great job they accomplished, what amazing results they achieved. So they will actually reflect the experience they went through, and they will value it even more. And finally, help them keep in touch. Organize some, group chats, or quarterly Skype calls, or whatever else, to keep communicating with each other. So one team that I was a part of we were really bonded, and we went through very intense experience together, and we still communicate really. So tomorrow we will have another video call, because even though we live in different countries and work in different jobs now, we still communicate a lot, and that's how you can continue your team member experience that was really successful. Well, that is it about the team stages, team development stages. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. And we are proceeding to the talk about values. So we are here to talk about the value-based team management. So it's time to talk about them in more details. So now on the slides, you see the three circles, with personal values, company or organizational or project values, and market values. So that is a simple model that will help us to connect the personal values of your team members with company's values and market values. So let's first define all of these three circles. So so we will start with personal values, and it is the fundamental beliefs of the person that drive behavior. And that is a very important notice, that values drive behavior, because personal and life values are the initial reasons for people to do things, to make certain choices. Then the company's values, actually why a company needs values, right? A company needs values to keep its integrity throughout a long period of time and fulfill its mission. Because if the company doesn't have values, it's the same as the company doesn't have any direction. That's why it won't be really stable in the long-term perspective. And the market values is a certain demand existing in the market. It's certain needs of the world, let's say, in the moment. So yeah, and in the intersection of all the three circles, we find this small triangle that will reflect all those three types of values. And your role as a leader is to find this small triangle that will help each and every of your team members to be connected to the company or to the project and see the bigger picture of their work, how your product or your company influences the whole market. So how do we do this? We start with companies or projects values. So as a team leader, you know really well what are the values of your project, what value your project creates for the market, for your city, for your country, for the world, or whatever. So you know what is your project about, and you know what value it creates, or what value your company creates. So you just outline the main ideas about this, and then think how your project, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. How your project is connected to the market, how your project contributes to the market itself. Because you know also what's going on in the world, you know what do you produce or what do you create with your project, and what possibly a market that you are working for needs. And after you have those two lists of ideas, how project values, company's values, and market values are connected, then you discuss together with your team members. It's better to do it one by one, but whatever matters to you in this case, you should guide them through understanding their personal values, or finding out what are their personal values of your team members, because some people don't really know what their personal values are. And after you find it out, help them to connect their personal values to your project's values, and then show them how it all makes difference in terms of the market. So connecting personal values to company's values creates commitment to the project, and understanding how this project influences the market creates a bigger picture for your team that will motivate them even more to do a very good project. Yeah, the error. Well, I also understand that sometimes it's not possible sometimes the projects, for example, are very short term, or you need to concentrate to only one of those circles, and it's okay. You as a leader can see that in some situation, yeah, you will just pay attention more, for example, to projects values and less to personal market values, but still if you have a little bit more time, you need to think how you can cover the gaps and personal market values, for example. So yeah, and also here what I wanted to share with you is that this kind of motivation that you will create by connecting personal values and project values is one way. Another way in all the commercial companies of creating motivation is financial motivation, and I wanted to say that it's better to balance those things. Of course, if your project makes sense for the market, it will generate a lot of revenue, and which will end up in the very good salary for your team members. So, but that should be only one point of the motivational system, because if you only connect, if you only motivate people with financial motivation, it won't be really stable and reliable in the long-term perspective, because if the people on your team are there just because of money, they will easily switch to other companies or other projects if they will feel like they'll be paid more in other projects. So I suggest you, even if your team members say that they are motivated by financial things, still dig deeper, ask more questions why this person needs money, what is real reason why this person is here, what is the real reason why the person wants to be in the project. Because some people need money to travel, some people need money to help the grandparents, for example, and those are two absolutely different types of motivation that you can use to help these people to achieve their personal goals through your project. Because, for example, if the person wants to help their grandparents, you can go a little bit deeper in this, and maybe you will find out that actually this person appreciates the feeling of belonging to some community, for example, such as family or a very bonded team or something like that. And maybe you will find the connection in this way. And this kind of connection will be much stronger than just connection and motivation by money or salary or stuff like that. Because if you surround yourself with people who shares your values and shares your beliefs, it will be much stronger team, a much bigger outcome of this project. Because actually, yeah, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that is, I don't know, that is relevant for many situations in our life, maybe in most of them. So yeah, this is a quote of Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek has designed a golden circle model. And I wanted to ask you again if you heard about this model. So, and if you did, if you have, just write it in the chat. So if you heard about it, or if you didn't, whatever, you can just put it in the chat. Oh, great. I just heard about it. Oh, but I will describe it anyway. So very briefly, maybe not very briefly. And here on the slide, I have another question to you. So this model, this golden circle model, is aimed to help understand why people do things, what are their personal values, what is their initial motivation of doing things. And this model is based on those three questions: why, how, and what. So I wanted to ask you also to type in the chat how do you think? What is the most important question? Why do you do things? How will you do those things? And actually, what are you going to do? So if you feel like why is the most important question, then put the why in the chat. If you think that the way you do this, the how you do this is most important, put how. And if you think that what are you going to do is the most important, then you put what. Yeah, we have 2 whys. Yeah. Thank you for participation. Actually, yeah, I'm really sorry to disappoint you, but unfortunately, there is no right answer to my question. I'm sorry, it was a tricky one. Then the yeah, I'm sorry. The point is that Simon Sinek says that there are 2 main principles that you should apply to this model to make it work. And the first principle is that all those 3 questions, all those 3 answers matter. So you, if you know why are you doing things, but you don't know what are you going to do, you miss the connection between your personal values and your actions. And on the other hand, if you know what are you going to do, but you don't have no idea why, you still don't have this connection, and people won't understand who you are based on what you do. And the point of this model is to connect your why with your what, to help people understand who you are out of what you do, so they can join you actually based on the values that you do. But the second principle is that you need to always start from why. And in these terms, you were partially right when you said why, because why is not the most important, but it is the first question that you should ask yourself when applying this model. So yeah, that is correct. So you should start from why. That means that you should have the clarity of why. Why is a set of your personal beliefs and your personal values. Then you proceed to how, and you should have the discipline of how, where how is certain particular actions that will help you to realize your why. And then finally, you need to have the consistency of what, where what is the tangible results, the kind of physical manifestations of why in the real world. So yeah, when you have all those 3 questions answered, people will be able to understand who you are out of what you do. And according to Simon Sinek, it will make you an influential leader, because people who manage to connect those 3 questions in their everyday activities, they therefore surround themselves with people who think the same way, with like-minded people who share the same values, the same approaches, and have similar goals in mind. So once you achieve this, you will be able also to surround yourself with people who share your why. But like, unfortunately nowadays we don't really have time to stop every day and ask ourselves the question why I do this, why I do that, and stuff like this. So when you ask other people what they do in their life, they usually answer something like, I study in this university, or I work in this company, and stuff like this. They usually don't share why they have chosen this university, why have they chosen this particular work, why is it important to them, and what they contribute back. So yeah, unfortunately we don't have time to think about this, but I really recommend you to do this, because once you if you do this once, twice, or 3 times in a row, at some point it will become a habit, and every other choices you make, every other activities you do, every project you participate, all of those decisions will be much more conscious, because they will be based on your why. So once you know it, it will be much easier for you to see your further development path. It will be much easier to see actually what to do next. But if you struggle with understanding your why, you can ask yourself a question: what would you do even if you are not paid for it? So what motivates you and inspires you so much that you would do this no matter what? And if you come up with a list of such activities that really inspire you, that will help you to have a clue about what your why is. So you can try asking yourself this question, and maybe it will lead to understanding what your why is. So so you can also write in the chat if you know your why, and it will be just great. And if you don't, please find it out, because I believe that a leader should know their why, because it's simply unfair to lead someone somewhere without knowing where you're going yourself. So a leader is a person who leads other people, and it's really impossible without having a clear direction of your own development, your own why, and without knowing your own values. So I would really suggest you to find out your own personal values and your own why before leading your team to some results and achievements. Well, so we have discussed team development stages. We have discussed values intersection, how to connect personal values, project values, and market values. We have discussed that an influential leader should connect their personal values with their activities. And now let's talk about how we can communicate it to our team members, how we can help them to be more efficient, and how we can actually be more efficient in organizing coaching conversation. And for this person, we will use for this purpose, we will use the GROW model for structuring coaching conversation. That is actually not very modern as well, but it is the simplest and the most elegant coaching model that I've seen. And the advantage of it is that you can use it even if you don't have any coaching experience before. If you haven't had any coaching experience before, because it's very simple, it's easy to and if you will practice it more and more, it will be really helpful in your team management process. So actually GROW is an acronym, and G stands for goal. So when you're having a one-to-one meeting with your team member, the first question you should ask is, what do you want? What your team member wants to achieve in this project, in their career, and whatever. So, and once you have answered the question, what do you want? Ask the question, what more do you want? Because what do you want is easy, but to brainstorm what more do you want will lead to much more insights, many more insights about what your team member really strives to in this project or in this company. So once you're absolutely clear with the goal, you proceed to reality. So here the question is, where are you now? So you should help your team member to assess the reality that is around you. What is already on place? What still needs to be achieved? What skills your team member already has? What skills are needed to be developed, and so on. So when you really know what is the reality, you move further and you see what options do you have. So the question here is, what could you do? So, and on what could you do question, you just brainstorm any possible ways of achieving the goal based on the reality you have just described. So, so you will have, for example, several strategies, several options of achieving the goal. And then the question to ask is, what will you do? So out of all of these options, out of all of these strategies, what is the most efficient for the goal's achievement? In the opinion of your team member, of course. And finally, we will go to will. Yeah, forgot to press the button. Yeah, what will you do? So here you just choose the strategy to implement. What is good for this model, that you can actually at any moment go back to any previous stages and rethink them and maybe change something on them. So for example, if on option stage you will understand that maybe the reality was described not that detailed as it's needed to come up with more options, you go back to reality and just think over. And if, for example, at any point you as a coach will feel that maybe it is not the real goal this person can or this person wants to achieve, you can go back to the even first stage, the goal, and to reconsider it. And actually what the coaching is different from teaching, and I guess it's pretty clear, but I feel like it's needed to still be included into the presentation. The teaching is when you, as a teacher, as a lecturer, provide information and provide solutions to your student. So you actually directly say what is better to be done in the particular situation. On the other hand, coaching is when you're not providing solutions, you're not providing any ready-made algorithms of achieving the goal. You just ask the questions that will help your coachee to come up with this, to come up with the most efficient, most effective solution. So you don't push it, you just help and guide and assist. And that is important, because if the person creates the plan themselves, they feel also more committed to it, as at least comparing to the plan that is just given to them. So yeah, it really works. If the person creates the plan, it will be much more interesting to them to achieve this plan, to go through all the stages of this plan and see how it works. Well, so we are moving actually to the end of the presentation, and I wanted to review what we have discussed. So especially if you have some questions about some parts, so you will maybe you will remember some questions that you had. So we have discussed team development stages, and we discussed that it's needed, so many things needed to be really taken into consideration on the very first forming stage. The storming stage needed to be as short as possible in order to make performing really extended and bring you more results. Then we have discussed the values intersection. And discussed how to connect personal values with company's values and with market values. We have discussed how to find out what your why is and how to become an influential leader, and how to structure the coaching conversation with your team members in order to boost their efficiency. Well, yeah, being a leader is hard. And it is especially hard because if you're a leader, you cannot stop being a leader. So you need to be a leader 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you are actually an example for your team members of how to be, how to behave, and how to work. And in these terms, it's really hard, but it's also rewarding. And if in the end of the project, your team members are better than you in some skills or in some processes or overall, then you did great. Then you really helped them to achieve their personal goals. Then you really helped them to develop themselves. You unleashed their potential and behaved as a true leader. So, and the gratitude that they will provide you with is really rewarding, and I wish you all to experience this. So, well, yeah. So start being a leader today, and you will see the results in the growth of your company and the good results of your projects. I'm really open to discuss this topic or any other topic connected to leadership. So you can connect to me via any of the links or any social media you can see on the slides, or email me and I will send you this presentation if you need it. Well, yeah, and I'm open to your questions.
Okay, everyone, you should be able to, if you want to use audio to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself. We're a small enough group that I think we can manage that. If not, go ahead and just type it in the chat box so Marina can read from there.
Yeah. Well, so it was either very understandable or completely not clear. Oh, yeah, I'm really grateful to everyone for attending this webinar, because as I told in the beginning, it is my first ever webinar, so it was really interesting experience of talking to my computer. So yeah, I also write some articles on leadership on Medium. So I have described there some leadership topic as well. For example, how to define a leadership style and use it efficiently to manage team and communicate with other people. So if you'd like to read it, I would highly appreciate your feedback. And if you have questions about the GROW model, the Golden Circle model, or whatever that we have discussed today, really, I'm open anytime. Yeah, thank you so much for attending. Now it's almost 2 a.m. and yeah. And I feel like it was really good day.
Well, thank you very much, especially for joining us and leading us in the middle of the night where you are. For all of you that have attended, we will be sending out a short survey to get your feedback on the webinar, the topic, and to help us build our schedule for next year. We'll also be including a copy, a link to the recording of this webinar, so you can refer back to it and share it with all of your friends. So again, thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. Marina, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. And
thank you.
We will see you all at a Drupal for Gov event, either in person or remotely in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.